To begin with, take 6 is on building connections. Why do some connections work and why some don't? The moment a fetus is formed in a mother's womb, it seeks to connect with the mother through the umbilical cord. It is through this connection that it receives its nourishment till it grows into a little baby. And ever since that moment, our lives are filled with a whole lot of connections, knowingly or unknowingly, until we step into our graves. Man is a social animal. The sense of establishing a connect, a sense of belonging, is our need. Money, fame, power can give you temporary happiness. But it is ultimately a sense to connect, the sense of social belonging, that probably defines our very existence. The quality of our lives is proportional to the quality of relationships that we establish. However, the question is, how do we build connections? Right? So there is one school of thought that believes that building connections is an organic process. You are born to a set of parents, you have relatives. As you grow up, you have schoolmates, college mates, and an evolving friend circle. And you build connections through the process. But today's times, you get to hear this, that you really need to build connections to grow. They believe in this process of working towards building connections, and it's probably connected to your level of success and so on and so forth. There are a lot of books that speak about establishing connections, influencing friends, and so on and so forth. There is a growing emphasis on this. Alongside this, technology has shrunk this world. Everything is at the tip of our finger. It's just a click away. In the midst of all of this, there's a growing concern that the quality of connections have reduced. Loneliness, depression has become a social epidemic today. It's growing by the hour. So what does it mean? It simply means that human connections are complex in nature. Right? So through today's show, we're going to have a discussion on the dynamics of connections, why some work, why some don't, why some are a priority at a certain point in time and not after that. And what I would try to do is to drive you through different instances that we encounter in our lives. And through the process of discussion, let's try to interpret, decode, and understand how connections form and how they fall apart. Yeah, with this, the floor is open for discussion. Take 6. Right? A few questions to start off. The first thing that comes to my mind is when you meet a person for the first time, right? What is that you look for in that person to establish a connection? Something similar to talk about. So you're looking for similarities?
Not similarities, but probably interest, an interest towards something.
An interest towards something.
Does it being pleasant?
Do you feel good? It's the feel good factor. In a relationship, it's about how you feel.
The one thing which I connected with him was he was poor in maths and I was good in maths. And maths was the common point, first common point.
Most of us have this one friend in our life with whom we've probably never spoken for years together.
Yes.
Okay? And we end up meeting them after say 3 to 4 years, and it just seems like yesterday. Nothing has changed. Time, lack of connection, distance doesn't distort our relationship. Right? I think, how many of you have such friends? You have a huge show of hands. How do we connect? How do such relationships survive?
What amount of distance we have not interacted,
Okay.
but in the core, when we meet again, we are again the same person which we were years back.
Basically, that person hasn't changed in their basic value system. Is that primarily the reason we connect with somebody?
It's about inhibitions.
Okay.
So when I meet one of my friends who I haven't met for a long time, it's just that we trust each other enough, and there aren't any inhibitions when it comes to confiding with one another. So we can just pick it off from where we live from.
You see that we want to be able to either relive that or share even more.
You carry a
what's happening.
history with that person. You connect on certain common grounds.
Yeah, and you've shared so much that you want to share even more.
I think the fact that you can be yourself with some people.
Being yourself. Some relationships are for a reason, some for a season, and a few for a lifetime. Do we acknowledge that our connections also have an expiry date?
Yes.
Is it okay to have an expiry date?
Yes.
Or is it designed?
It takes its own time. You can't start building a connection with the expiry date.
You can't build a
Yeah.
connection.
You don't, when you meet someone, when you connect with someone, you don't have that thought in your mind that after a period of time I'll not be able to connect with her. So you don't start a connection with this expiry date.
You
I
don't
feel.
start.
You can't put a date to it. Sometimes it just works. Whenever I go out, I tend to talk to people, unknown people, and I know that I'm not going to see that person the next time. I just talk to him, I build some connection, we share good things, and then we depart.
It's like you're traveling on a train, you know you're going to be with that person for the next 5
Yeah, and then you
go
go.
destination.
Because the day we are born, we know that we are going to die.
Right.
But we don't every day live with the fear that, okay, we are going to die.
I think it's fine when connections don't last forever, whether it's like you said for a reason, a season or something, because it's there to teach you something,
Sure.
either about yourself or about life in general. So we have to be grateful even though it's going to end, and know that okay, this happened for a reason, and what is it teaching me? What is that here for me for? And sometimes the reason it breaks down is because of value clashing, whether that's at work, friends, love, doesn't matter.
Sure.
So usually when you have a clash in values, it just means that that's the reason for the breakdown.
So let's move on to the first section of our talk. It's called the virtual connection. Okay, how many of you here are not on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? One person. Thank you. Have you never been there? Give him a round of applause.
I find sometimes it is very, it's an addiction to me.
Okay.
And it's sometimes it takes away the real fun what you have with people.
Would you get back to Facebook?
No, I don't.
You're happy? Yeah. Assume you have 1,500 friends on your Facebook page. You have 500 on Twitter, and you have an equal number on Instagram, right? What purpose do these connections serve? I'm actually in touch with these 1,500 people. At least 150 of those people.
But sometimes you are in a different country altogether. For example, you're in a different state. You have some emergency, but you don't have anyone there. But you know there is one, your junior or one of your ex-colleague is there. So
In creating that sense of
yes, that is that
connection.
connection. It's not like you have to connect with them each
But
and
you
every
don't have an
day.
emotional
Like
connection.
for example, people have caused some revolution in some countries wherein they have expressed their views and people have come together.
So what I see is the general answer that is coming out is that adhering to certain views, trying to establish a connect. It's not that you need to be. You don't find that emotional connect on a virtual medium.
I always feel that social media is not for your emotional bonds.
How it helps you sometimes relive your old memories. For example, like he said, he had 1,000 friends on Facebook, but people only wished him on his birthday. And that's okay, it doesn't make a difference. But when someone does wish you on your birthday, you can speak to them and think about how things were once upon a time. And sometimes that makes you happy.
We would also be very curious to know how the other person is spending his own lifetime. So what is happening in his or her life? What views are we are curious to know about the other person.
A newspaper of a person.
If you have 600 friends and you have only 200 likes, there are 400 people who haven't liked your picture.
Why do we like a Facebook post?
Attention.
Because
Why do we like somebody else's Facebook post?
Because they like to give them attention. Because they are asking for it.
Well, it's a social obligation, isn't it? You didn't like my post. Well, I use Facebook for solely business purposes. There's nothing personal on my page. And it's if I have customers and clients, I like it just to kind of remind them, hey, long time no travel.
What's the difference between liking and commenting on a post?
effort. You can figure out what is the right thing to say to be to ensure that you're not really putting a wrong foot forward somewhere.
Sometimes it's about not about that person but about you. You want to make yourself visible to everybody else who's seeing the post.
I personally comment when I just want to convey to that person that you are special to me and
You can.
Yeah, I can.
You can. How can we use the virtual world to make more meaningful connections?
So it's like you can do need for the helpful, for the poor people. so that the people will start sharing your pics. And so leave a note or a comment to the other person that it makes him to think more, and then comes back with it. Yes.
It benefits me that I think can benefit other people who are also good friends or whatever. I tag and I forward it to all of them.
Right?
Yeah, actually, we are what we pretend to be.
We are what we pretend
But I think we should be genuine actually. Instead of to make them feel good, we should be genuine.
While there remain social obligations, if we could put in that effort to make meaning in another person's life and add meaning to our lives as well, I think it's a beautiful platform to explore, and that should be the norm that we should try achieving. Even if it's 5% of what we can try achieving, I think we're adding value to another person's life. Moving on to the second section, it's called romantic connections. And the first bit of it is called the curious case of an arranged marriage. Okay? It used to happen a lot in the past. Even today it happens in many traditional families. A prospective groom goes to see with his family goes to see a prospective bride. They see each other eye to eye when coffee is being served and being very filmy. And after that you get 10 minutes of private time where your relatives are all around to make that one decision whether you want to marry this person or not. The question here is, how do you make a decision, a life-changing decision in that short span?
Yeah, we spoke for about an hour or so.
Okay.
And that's pretty much that was it.
So it's not 10 minutes, but 1 hour is enough to make a decision.
No, it's not enough, but I felt that it could evolve into something better, and if there are any problems, I felt it can be resolved. That was good enough.
So I just feel like even if you have had a love marriage, you could have been dating that person for years and still things may not go right. So there is no time factor again.
So what has kept it going for 24 years?
No, I think it's a lot of trust, a lot of love, liking each other, giving up, acceptance.
A lot of person that you saw for the first time to who he was later would have been a different person altogether.
Of course.
How did you still?
You just evolve, right? I mean, what if you change? I think life is all about changing.
You give some and you take
You give some, you get some.
The question is, how do some close connections just fall apart?
Before starting a relationship, we'll be having some assumptions actually.
Assumptions, okay.
Yeah.
People grow apart, they want different things.
That the priority changes.
Or when the person fails to stand by you in difficult times.
Person
And is there just for the good times.
doesn't stand by you in your
It's
difficulty.
not going to last.
Yeah, like be it an ex or a marriage, the last question which you asked, it's like I always personally felt like when two people, a man and a woman, they get together by nature, you're forced to make a connection. That's that chemistry which it works in the beginning, which tends to go away in a matter of few months. But if you're really wise enough, or you say like you hang on to something very important between these two people, then it continues. If not, then once the chemistry, it fades off because your priorities keep changing.
So we never started off with a liking, but after that I think when we started talking we understood that there's a lot of common things among us. We like traveling a lot and things like that. And I think from there on it just changed. I think people stop putting in the effort once you get comfortable.
People still take a person for granted. Moving on, the third section is called the professional connection. Right? In the professional circles, we often hear this word, we need to network to connect and to be successful. Right? And that's like the norm. People are like really in the rush to connect with others, to seem that they have acquaintances. How do we build meaningful connections in a professional setup?
Since I work with the colleagues, like always winning their trust, that makes my life easy and to get things done.
Sure.
And the second thing is also for myself, if I have a network, it helps me in many ways if it is in a profession.
Is important. How many of you think networking is important? So how do you're going to have a unanimous raise of hand. How do you network and how do you form connections?
So one thing that I connect with my colleagues is by bitching towards my boss.
Is bitching about your boss. Now a common hate factor.
I have a different opinion because for me, I'm working from last 5 years.
Okay.
And the bitching part of the boss, but I had always a boss or a manager or a team lead who bond the team. I always got one type of leader in our team. So because of them, we bonded well and we became
Okay,
good
here is a case of having a good boss, which brings me to the other question. In our entire professional career, there is bound to be this one bad boss. At some point in our time, how do you manage such a difficult connection when you have a bad boss?
You need to accept that there's an expiry date.
Sometimes you have to lower your expectations, and because you can't control another person or the
Very
situation.
profound statement. You cannot control the other person, but you can control your reaction. Now, there is this term which says being strictly professional. I'm in a strictly professional relationship. It is easier said than done. Do strictly professional relationships exist, and are they meaningful in nature? Your personal space gets mixed up with your professional space. What do you have to think when, say, you want to establish a personal rapport with a colleague?
I think we were working very closely and under a lot of pressure, and often working late. And we said
you end up spending most of your
time with each other, and then in that we happen to share a lot of things, and we find that common ground, and then it just
You're dating somebody, and then it just doesn't work.
change the organization.
You need to walk back
Left the organization and then I started dating her.
So you always have things for her and never let her. Yeah. Did you find a job just because you wanted to date her?
No, she switched her job, so. I know of two people in my career who were working in the same team, who were married and separated.
Okay.
And honestly, the way they carried themselves, really good. There was this moment of awkwardness for a few days, but post that date, you talk about strictly professional relationship. I think that came in, and they gave each other their space. They respected each other.
It's called the personal connection, and I'm sure I'm giving you one scenario, and let's see how that goes. So let's assume that there is this IT guy. Let's give him a name. Give me a name, man. Naresh. Okay. So Naresh is working with an IT firm. He's doing exceptionally well for himself. And one day he receives a notification that he's got an on-site opportunity to go to Canada for the next 2 years. I'm not using US anymore. Okay. He's received this notification. He's got an on-site opportunity to go to Canada. And finally, 2 weeks down the lane, he receives a confirmation letter. So he goes home that night. As he steps in, his dad opens the door. Now the scenario is like this. The day he received this notification 2 weeks back, he's called up his mom and he's told her that you have got an opportunity to go to Canada and so on. He expects his mom to have told dad. He has never told. A scenario is that he's face to face with his father and he doesn't know what to do. So he looks up and he says, Dad, I'll be going to Canada next week for 2 years. And the father pops up a few questions. 5 minutes of a conversation and it's done. Now, haven't we come across such father-son or father-daughter relationships? Yeah? How many of you all have come across such relationships? That you find a... Hands, please. Why does that happen?
My dad asked me a lot of questions, so I just prefer to route it through my mom.
Your dad asked you too many questions.
I think in Indian society, the father don't show his emotions that profoundly than the mother. So maybe he restricts himself asking too much questions. He will indirectly go to the mom and ask the questions rather than asking to the child directly. That's
You have
what
this
kind
image
of
of
happens
Indian
with
father
me.
who's so the one parent with whom we communicate. Yeah.
For me, it was the emotional connect. What I had with, because my dad, he was with business, so he used to travel most of the time, and it is when it was my mother who was with me. So it is always it is again.
You always have this mother who's soft and always around you that you.
Yeah.
So always choose which one parent you want to go and communicate with better, right? What about your childhood defines how you connect with somebody? All those who told me are yes.
Instead of being a stern parent,
if you like go ahead and make the child understand that why this you should not do and why you should do this, maybe that like explanation can make them realize that okay, not everything has to be a yes or no. If you give them a reason and make them understand, maybe like.
So have you had a stern parent?
Kind of. Maybe, yeah. Like my dad is my idol for what of the things I should not do with my child.
The current generation are overdoing it, what you're saying. I think my child should not suffer and I should give everything what I want to give them because I didn't get that. And now.
Which actually
my parents came from very different backgrounds. They were from villages, and now ever since I'm 20 today, so ever since I was like a little girl, they've always wanted the best for me, and they've always given me everything. So now I feel like I'm very lost because I don't know what to do next. I know that I'm supposed to grow up, I know I'm supposed to do the next thing, but I don't know what that is because they've always assisted me in everything that I've done, and now I don't have a stability of opinion. And
you don't have that helping hand, that support infrastructure around.
Yeah, but I want to be my own person, so it's very difficult.
Let me give an example to this. It's like when I grew up, it is like even my uncle and aunt, anybody, if I do something wrong, they can just back me up.
Right.
Now, if you touch anybody's kid, even a teacher, if say something bad about them, they'll just go and argue with him. How can you say bad about my kid? Because nobody except the mom can hit their child. That is how it has begun. Because the value system has changed.
I just want to ask, what is the reason, or what is the trigger for connections to fall apart?
People change.
People change.
People change. I mean, when you move to a different place, okay, the other person moved to a different place, the net
Distance.
Yeah.
Distance. What else?
The connection was not a true one. I mean, it was true for you, but not for the other one.
You might see a couple who have tons of things in common and everything's going really well, and then all of a sudden there's a breakup.
Right.
Then you have the couple who's very mismatched. They don't have a lot in common. They're so opposites, but their values are the exact same thing.
Right.
And so I think it all comes down to your values in the end. So if you both believe and value the same things, then you can usually withstand anything. It's
So
not just
values
about
change?
values don't change, beliefs change.
Beliefs change.
But
I think with time people tend to give more importance to their ego than the other person, and then they think that self-respect is equal to ego, which is not.
My take, I personally believe that life is not all about going and making new connections or building new connections. It is about the quality of connections that we make. Even if it is a handful, our life seems meaningful when we build a few connections that are meaningful in our lives. My views or my thoughts on how we need to be and what we need to look out for when we are building connections are this. One, be yourself. Just be yourself. Each one of us is bound to have our nature. We're bound to be introverts. We have our likes, our dislikes. In order to connect with somebody, we shouldn't compromise on being ourselves. In fact, a good connection or relationship brings out the better version of the person that we are. So be yourself. Don't change for a connection. A good connection will change you for the better. Right? The second aspect, the sincerity element. Every time I try to connect with somebody, I look for that one element of sincerity in a person. The person can be diversely different. They may have their histrionics. They may have their typicalities in behavior. It's worth setting it aside if that person is genuine in approaching you or establishing that connect. Look for that sincerity element. 3, be non-judgmental. We are always in this space of trying to seek similarities, trying to find differences, forming opinions. We're overanalyzing the entire situation that we sometimes fail to understand the person for he or she is. 4, be vulnerable. If you ever want to build a deep connection with somebody, you should have the ability to share yourself, the way you are, bear yourself out. It is when two people speak, connect, understand each other's insecurities and still accept the other person for who he or she is when a meaningful bond is formed. So be vulnerable in a relationship. Right. 5, explore, step out, do new things. As much as I believe that you shouldn't go force yourself to make new connections, I believe you should explore life, meet new people, and through that entire journey, you will find and establish new meaningful connections that will evolve with time. So do that. And finally, never seek perfection. None of us are perfect. We are never ever going to have a perfect connection. There are bound to be highs and lows. There are bound to be struggles. As long as the sincerity element is intact, I think we should work to make our connections happen, because every struggle and every challenge will add new meaning and a new dimension to our lives. Right? So these are my views. Before you step off from this place, has a beginning to connecting with strangers. I think most of you all are strangers with another person in this room. What I would ask you to do is walk up, say a hello, shake hands, and have a conversation for a minute. For all you know, you may make a connection for a reason, for a season, or it could be for a lifetime. I had a nice time hosting you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. With this, I call to close take 6. As you walk out of this place, you're bound to have your own views and have your take on life, because life is how you see it. Thank you so much.